What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Order Within. In today's episode, I'm speaking with Tereza Rehorova. She's a neuroleadership specialist and founder of Devalu Vision. She shares her in-depth knowledge of neuroscience and the art of visualization to transform your visions into reality. Teresa's unique approach, combining ancient meditation principles with modern neuroscience, helps her clients navigate their inner chaos, leading them towards their personal and professional success. In this episode, you'll also learn about the significance of self-awareness and how letting go of fear can open up a world of endless possibilities. Discover the power of altering mindsets and challenge your perception of success as Teresa reveals the potential roadblocks for business and life. This is an episode filled with practical advice and mind-opening discussions. Tune in, and I hope you enjoy. So let's get into it, y'all. Hello, and welcome to Order Within, navigating a world of endless chaos and crisis. Many of us are experiencing inner turmoil, insecurity, anxiety, fears, and isolation. These feelings are only being amplified by news cycles, social media, and never-ending political madness. How do we find our way out of the chaos? How do we find strength within ourselves? How do we find meaning in a world driven by materialism? These questions and many more I aim to answer on the show. My goal is to be a trusted guide on your journey to selfhood. May you find what you seek. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Brandon Ward, back with another episode of Order Within. We've got an excellent guest today. Tereza Rehorova is a neuroleadership specialist. She works with startups and growing companies. She's the founder of Devalu Vision. Teresa is devoted to transforming entrepreneurs' vision into reality through neuroscience. Devalu Vision offers tools that create a unique business and personal strategy with all the necessary metrics for achieving ultimate success. Teresa, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me on the show. It's nice to be here.
My pleasure. Well, I'm excited to talk with you. We had a good conversation initially. I'm fascinated by the work that you do and the focus on the brain and the specialization on neuroplasticity and how all that works. And I don't think people realize how flexible and dynamic our brains are. We kind of have this idea, most of us anyway, that things are very set in stone, especially as we get older. But Teresa, your work is really a counterpoint to all that, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So basically, coming from the idea that everything what is around us, what we endorse ourselves with us, including emotions, relationships, material things, also the business success, is coming within us. So we are the source of our perception of the world. And the way how we set up ourselves, then the perception is, it's creating, it's developing. So that's my work. I am trying to teach people, mainly entrepreneurs, with the focus on their business, how to create themselves strong enough with a strong foundation. So the company has also this foundation and can develop basically the way they wish to. Because also everyone has a different idea of the success, and often we forget to define what is success for ourselves, right?
That's very true. I think a lot of us, we allow the definition of success to be set by other people and what society has told us or whatever it is, culture, maybe different countries. I know you are located in Spain, correct? You're living in Spain right now, but you speak multiple languages, so I know that you interact with the definitions of success and the cultural definitions of success in a variety of countries. So I think it is important for us to understand how we are defining success and what's driving maybe our actions, right, from an internal perspective. I'm curious for you, though, because you work specifically with founders. What do you see a lot is the roadblocks for them to growing and building their companies?
As I said, it is the inner self to be set up well. This is the first thing. It's the confidence. It's
Mm,
also to have the vision for the business and the right strategy, and to be bold, to enjoy the journey as well. because
Mm.
sometimes it is a real hustle, right? But we still should enjoy, because to be entrepreneur is a choice. So let's enjoy the life also, because what I see a lot, most of the entrepreneurs, they fight with the stress, they fight with the anxiety, or they are overexcited with their work, and they work 10 hours a day because they have so much fun. But there is a stop point, there's a mental stop point, there is our emotional stop point, and that can be dangerous. So it's very important to define yourself, your healthy approach to your business as well.
Mm. So in your work, a lot of what you're doing is helping them to define what that means.
It's one of the stages. I focus mainly on creating the vision for them, because
Mm.
that's the part of the neuroscience. Our brain is subconsciously protecting us from things that we don't know. So we don't know how does the success feels, for example. How does feel the revenue $1 million? Oh my God, what would I do with all this money? It's the body. It's actually stress situation. So what I make is these visions, and within these visions, the entrepreneurs, they can look in these situations, they can define it, they can already taste it, live it, because our brain doesn't recognize what is reality. For example, what is just imagination, and it's much more easier for them to achieve it.
Mm.
Maybe
So
you have tried yourself something like this.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned stress and thinking about making money and growing. And honestly, as I've become more successful in my life, the same thing with my wife, as we've developed and created more success in our life and generating more income, it can create a lot of stress. It's actually, you think it would be the opposite, but you're challenged to, for whatever it is, we go in those fear states, and I think that's our brain kind of working, whatever it may be, our history, our past, our experiences. I think that's something that her and I work a lot on, is instead of moving into a fear response, looking at, this is a blessing, this is an abundance. How do we attune ourselves to that new state of income and what we're driving towards and what we're trying to create? I think because I think a lot of people experience that, Teresa, that fear as they grow and they become more successful, they actually get afraid and they get less confident, right? I mean, is that something you're shaking your head? So it's common, isn't it?
Exactly. You get kind of frozen, because the stage when you're like, oh my God, it's happening. What I have been fighting for, it's happening. And then there is another stage when this is what you were fighting for, let's say 1/3 of your life. What you gonna do next? It's another fear. When you reach this target, what can be your another purpose for living? So that is another question. What is your purpose behind what you do? Do you do it because you love learning new things? So there will be always something for you you learn within your business, for example, or you want to at the end help the world somehow, or you want to create a nice family, or you want to leave something behind you. This is the next step to see.
Hmm. So how is it, with your understanding of the brain, how do you apply those? How do you apply that to the work that you do? Like, how is it understanding the brain and its plasticity? How does that help you in your work?
So first of all, what I'm saying, there can be many approaches and many keywords that can be used. Because for some people, it's easier to speak about these things in maybe religion concept, or in spiritual concept, or in something very simple, coming from heritage of your culture,
Mm.
maybe. But I have found out that nobody speaks this language in the world of the business. I found out that one is very data oriented, very racial oriented, and is something what happened with our brain. When we get into this stress level, our brain, the waves in our brain are getting in. first momentum when we are not able to be creative anymore and we are becoming more selfish. It's not meant bad way. It doesn't mean negative necessarily, but we are becoming selfish because we are stressed. The body is in the stress. The hormones are out. So it's again the survival mode, and we are trying to protect ourselves. And we cannot be creative anymore. We cannot take more initiatives. We cannot compassion or collaboration. We take everything as competition. And I want to bring these principles in the world of the business as well. So people can, entrepreneurs, businessmen, investors also, they can see that there is a power in a collaboration. There is a power in being in this stage when you can allow yourself to be creative. And if you need 2 days off, take 2 days off, and then you create it, and your scale will increase. So that's how I'm approaching this word of the business. Yes.
So applying some of the spiritual principles, some of the maybe spiritual is one way you mentioned it. Religious could be another one. Like I think a lot of people may think about these things differently, but it's bringing more of the human, compassionate, collaborative components to the world of business is what you're doing in your work.
Exactly. And with neuroscience, I believe that the science is the field which is connecting everyone with whatever perspective we have, because it's bringing the proven data and people who like neglect these facts, and you bring them the data from the lab. Have to admit that it works. So it is the solution for large scale of people and their way of thinking, their way of mindset. That's why the neuroscience is a very nice approach.
Well, in your world, working with entrepreneurs, founders, that probably has to be applied a lot, doesn't it? Do you have to bring these principles from a data approach? Is that how you help kind of reach people that are very data driven?
Exactly, exactly. And it's different type of conversation also. Person is data driven. You speak data driven language. If they are more some visionary driven and they think in the big pictures and fantasies, then you speak this way. But that always help to persuade them that this is the way how to approach your business, and maybe also connect their life. It's the professional, right, and personal. Uh,
I see. How did you learn? What were you doing before that you learned about some of these things and got you into the work that you're doing?
well, that's a thing because I've started with meditation. I think that's where it all begins with me already with 10 years ago.
Mm,
And I started to educate myself through different courses and have different academies, also
mm,
different like coaching techniques. And I found out that technique creating the vision which I'm doing and working with works the best for me and what I want to bring also to the world and to my purpose. I have to say that here I have a part of Vipassana meditation. It is,
mm,
maybe you have heard about it. Did you?
mhm, mhm,
Yes. So it's a special type of that is not religion connected, and it's quite of intensive. You do 10 hours of meditation every day for 10 days. Exactly. Without speaking, without phone, without book, without pen and paper. And
See, I
those
knew very little about it. I've heard of it, Teresa. I didn't realize it was that intense. So do you go to a retreat to do something like that, or is that something that you can do at your home? I mean, what's
No, I recommended to go to the retreat because the conditions are just the best over there, and feel also confident that you can finish it, and there are more people, so you feel this compassion that you are not alone and everything. It is at the retreat. And super interesting because a lot of the wisdom, lot of the learnings, for example, I received over there just through the meditations, are the same with what is written in the neuroscience and scientific books about the business, about how to live your life. how to approach the people, how to approach the society. So that's another reason and another thing that I recommend. It's good to detach yourself from the everyday reality, also to find out yourself where is your truth, where it's standing. And then for me, it's just great that I can use it also in my everyday work.
Yeah.
This type of learning.
So you said you found there were common connections between what you've learned with the meditation practice and what they're teaching from their practice to what we know about business and neuroscience. Like they're very similar, is what you're saying.
Definitely, because in the meditation there is happening an important thing that we want, and it is that your brain is changing. The neuroplasticity of the brain is happening in the moment of the meditation. That's why I recommend meditation to everyone, and it is a proof how difficult it is to change your habitual behavior, because to sit in the meditation from 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, or 2 hours, it can be very difficult. And the same way difficult it is to change your habits. So, for example, said that every day we wake up, our actions of the day are almost the same as the day before, because we connect ourselves with our past experience, with our past emotions. And it doesn't allow us to create the new reality, the new possibilities, right? So, for example, as a business owner, you wish to have 1,000 customers. And it is so difficult for you to reach that number. It feels impossible because you are so connected with that reality that it is impossible. But if you were able to cut off your past experience of the day before when you thought it is not possible, maybe the day you would hit that number.
Mm.
So that is
Because
also
it's
very important.
because you're letting go of. Do you think so? You're saying what we sometimes block the potential for new experiences based on our past, the things that we're thinking. So in this example, if you wanted 1,000 customers, but let's say you have one customer, you have no customers, and you want 1,000 customers, that gap seems huge. But if you can disconnect from what that past has been and realize that in a new future, things are possible and that it is possible to bring that to life. And you help clients, and these are things that you teach in meditation. These are things that you work on to help kind of change our past connections. Is that what you're saying, Teresa?
Exactly. To make them able to see the new possibilities and to be able to achieve them. That's why so it is nice. I have some customers who come to me and they tell me, I'm so excited about the neuroscience and neuroleadership. I have read many books and I have heard podcasts, and that's great. But you need to get into the practice. You need to apply it in your life to see the results if you want the results.
And for you, is that meditation? Is that the means to apply it, the best way to apply the work that because you talk about visualization as a big part of your work too. So do you go into visualizations when you're meditating like this? Like, is this a part of your practice?
I'm doing two types of meditation that works for me. One of them is a deeper stage of meditation when I really disconnect and trying to disconnect from who I am and from the world. So just that that I is within. It is not much connecting with the material life, right?
Yep.
It's good for our spirit. And then I am doing another type of meditation where I'm connecting with exactly the visualization, where I kind of at the start relax and I let my fantasy grow. And I'm asking myself questions because I kind of know the questions. The best is always this somebody else is guiding you through that visualization process. So you can only see the things that you need to see, because we don't know what is the best for us. Many entrepreneurs found out that actually what makes them happy is their family at the end and not not their company.
That's a good thing. It's a good
Yes,
thing.
yes, there is a hope.
There is hope. There is hope. Well, I think sometimes we forget that business and success in life is a tool. It's a vehicle to live the life that we want to live, which is spending time with people that we care about, doing the things that really matter to us, making an impact in our community. All of those things, business can facilitate that and can amplify the impact that we make in our everyday life. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and the revenue and the money and all the big stuff, the flashy stuff. But that doesn't bring us fulfillment. And it's one of the things that I think is interesting about your work, Teresa, is that neuroscience has shown us that it doesn't. We'll get that peak experience in a moment where we'll have the hit from the big accomplishment, but then it always goes back down to whatever our baseline is in terms of our brain, and so if we can't live in those highs, if we do, it's a very destructive way to live, isn't it?
Exactly. I think that it is important for every entrepreneur to realize this and to archer this ability to know exactly what you have explained. Because we as a humans, we are addicted to emotion. So the emotions will come at any point. Oh, it's very difficult to be emotionalized. So in the moment when your company will just like a rocket, crazy, you will get so thrilled, excited, even though you know the base. Your company will fail, hit the ground. You're gonna be sad, and you can feel really frustrated. As long as you set up this for yourself first, easier to reconnect with it when you have these emotional up and downs.
Hmm. So that's something to me that meditation has always helped with is the continuity that it brings. That it helps with the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows of life, just as you said. And it's interesting, Teresa. I've always struggled with the visualization component when I'm visualizing, and you're helping me too because I've realized that a lot of the meditation that I do is me freeing from my body, really being in spirit, leaving like just I get further and further away sometimes from where I am when I go into my meditation practice. It's the same thing in a lot of my healing practices too around psychedelics. Like you can get very far away from your body and where you are now. But the visualization component where you're asking questions, where you're trying to see the life that you want, that's very interesting too, because I think a lot of people are more familiar with meditation in the sense of where they may leave their body or their kind of their I don't want to say escape because that's too strong of a word. But I'd love to get your perspective and talk a little bit more about the visualization component and how you help people achieve that vision in meditation because it's you have to know where you're going, right? And I think that visualization component helps us get there.
Exactly. It's also the option because there are people who are able to visualize very easy, and then there are people who maybe just hear or just kind of read the storyline. So it very much also depends what type of person you can be. It's easiest to put the person to the visualization because we're very used to use vision as our eyes and the perception, giving the message from out the word. And the main key is, I think, to start to increase the capability of your fantasy also. So I recommend to read books, for example, the storybooks. A lot of
Mm.
businessmen, they forget to read storybooks and they read only business oriented books. But then their fantasy is not kind of flowing. You are not able to create those pictures in your mind. So these are like start some exercises you can do. Another thing
Mm.
is that you can imagine your favorite place, right? Like where you feel comfortable. And that way you start to receive some pictures in your mind and you can kind of try. Maybe it would be nice for you to try this way. First touch of the vision. I just I'm in the forest, there's the waterfall or something. And it starts to flow. And from there, you can easier get on the journey of visualization. Oh, where am I standing here? Also, 1 year later, 2024, maybe the picture's gonna change. right? So
Mm.
that can be a nice entrance into visualizing.
That's great. So it's slow stepping our way into the progress and into the visualization process. We can start with areas that we feel comfortable with or we really enjoy. Start there. So like a beautiful forest or an island or whatever it may be, whatever resonates with each of us. I
Mhm.
love too the recommendation of reading fiction, going into the world of imagination and imagining worlds and exercising because I don't think people realize that imagination is a skill, isn't it? It's a skill that we can develop and grow and strengthen. And the less we use it, the more kind of logical and linear we become. But to your point earlier, it makes it hard to imagine and envision because that imaginative power can be extremely strong and helpful in the world of business and our real world, can it?
No, exactly. Because if you go to the office every day, let's say, where is your company set up, your perception of the reality is every day very similar, or there is nothing very much new. So your creativity is not set. But once you are, for example, in this fiction stories about traveling to the space, and
Mhm.
it might seed your creativity, it might seed also your purpose, and you become a kid again, and you start to dream because we should never stop to dream, because that's a little bit of fun within within our lives as well. And the visualization, it's great to know what do you want to see, right? When you start visualization process and you just like, okay, give me a picture. And of course, nothing's gonna come. You don't need to come up with the question. So if you try to do this at home, probably you can ask yourself this question before you dive into visualization. Am I standing in 5 years? And then you close your eyes and you can even do a little bit of thing. You can go from 5 to 1. So you count for your say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When it's 1, I'm standing in my office. How does it look like? And
Mhm.
that moment, you realize that you have a huge team. And that really, that really builds up this picture within you and makes you believe that there is this option.
Mm. That's awesome. I've and because there's a lot of people I think, Teresa, that struggle with visualization like this. Like that's why I'm glad we're talking about it because it's I've struggled with that too. And I think what you're describing is a way to allow openness and flexibility for visions to come into place by proposing questions, by thinking about a future state, and then allowing whatever to present itself to present. I've always been, and I realize now, I think a lot of this is true for many of us is we're trying to control the scenario, we're trying to control the vision, we're trying to control what we're seeing, and I think that can be part of the challenge is that if we're seeing the future, we don't know yet what it is, so we have to allow ourselves to relax and let it present itself to us, huh?
Exactly. People want to be in control of their lives because when we lose the control, it's unstable. We want to be stable. We want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. So to let unexpected happen tomorrow, we have to let go a little bit of this control as well.
I see. I imagine working with CEOs and founders at startups and companies that are growing, you probably run up against that quite a bit, don't you? Like, what are some of the common challenges that you see and maybe business owners or entrepreneurs that they're limited from their mindset perspective?
Uh, exactly what we have mentioned to allow themselves to dream, to have that vision because too much attached to their business plan, to the business strategy they have set up. They don't see another option. But then another option can be better, can be bigger, can be more fun, but they don't want to see. So once we start to work together, I really need to teach them and take them into this stage of mind where they believe there is no wrong answer. This is what we need to realize often. Always decide this is good, this is bad. I do it right, I do it wrong. This is good way, this is wrong way. But if you get rid of this polarization, then your journey becomes more comfort also. And there is never wrong answer for visualization. So allow yourself to be out of this category. I think that's the biggest challenge.
That's wonderful, because I mean, you see that in the world too, the binary component to everything, the polarizing component. Everything's black or white, yes or no, right or wrong. And to your point, Teresa, is there are many paths, truthfully unlimited paths that could potentially present themselves before us that would allow us to achieve our goals if we just allow that to happen, right? We let go and say, you know what? This is this is what I would like to create, but the way that I get there is not for me to decide. It's allowing the universe to go about supporting us in our journey and creating. And I love that you said that, because I don't think it's the letting go, but it's also the judgment. The judgment that we judge, this is right, this is wrong, that's good, that's bad. In reality, we don't know, because if we take on the position that there is nothing wrong in life, literally nothing that happens in my life is wrong, it's only showing me something, there is no bad things now, technically, like, because you're just learning from everything. Now, I know that may seem kind of insane or a big stretch for maybe many of the listeners, but I think to your point, though, is when we take on that mindset, we truly do allow ourselves infinite possibilities on how we create. What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's very liberating, isn't it? When you realize that there is no wrong scenario, is liberate you from all the fears, from all the anxiety, from all the stress, um, pushes we feel from inside. I think that it's actually very important to realize, because then your life can be much more better quality. And also, as you were mentioning, that can let's say the universe or the environment to happen even better than what we think that we should have or we deserve. Once we are in this no stress stage, then it can happen. So it's very important to get rid of fears, be confident, be anxious, don't be in this stress moment. People don't realize how important it is not to be there, and how to recognize also for themselves. Am I stressed today or not? A lot of people don't see or recognize where is the line, and for them it's not important, because we believe, and the society tells us, that the successful entrepreneur is the stress entrepreneur who works 10 hours a day. And there is not another way around.
And it's not, that's the furthest thing from the truth, isn't it? It doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. It's just up to you how you create your world is gonna be. And of course, I don't want it to sound very Danish. There is some hard
Right.
work,
Like, you still
right?
have to do the work. You have to do, right? You have to get up and,
Let's bring the
yeah,
time.
like, it doesn't just happen.
Exactly. There is a hard work behind it. It's very hard work on your mindset. You learn how to be and how to have the neuroplasticity, how to be in this, let's say, meditative state, in this creative stage. Most of the time, because most of the time we are in the stressed stage, and this is coming from our history, animals. I think it was always, let's say, the survivor instinct.
Yeah. And that's a hard one to undo. And that's the work that you're talking about. The work that we have to do is, I think, slowly getting away from recognizing ourself. That's why self-awareness is so important, is because we come back to that space to where we can see us in that chaotic, anxious state, and knowing that we can shift our perspective, we can live differently. Doesn't mean we don't have to get up and do the work every day, but it's the way we approach the work. It's the possibility that anything could be different. For me, Teresa, that's the faith component for me changed my life in that sense, that I stopped trying to figure everything out and what is the right path, all this stuff. I just started letting go of that and showing up every day and being present and doing what I can to be in a state of openness and positivity and faith as much as I can. Now, I'm not perfect, nobody is, we fail, right? But letting go of the control has helped a ton for me. And I think that's probably like what you're talking about is a huge part of it for many of us as we try and control so much.
Well, exactly. Well, for example, if I work with the entrepreneur who's looking for a new investor, and he believes that to get this investor, he needs to take 5 steps and to have this revenue and this amount of customers, is going to be that way. But if he believes that he will come to one event and he will meet a person who's, who's going to become the investor, it's going to happen that way. It doesn't have to be so difficult. There are more options. So choose the best option for you. And yes, let go is what has happened yesterday, as you say. Show up and do your best again with the joy of a new day. Nobody will give us back our time we are spending in this life, right? So let's spend it with optimism, with believing in what we do is good. Of course, we are still human, so sometimes there is up and down, but let's take this as basics.
Exactly. That's well said. Because that's what the neuroscience shows us now too, is that the optimistic approach, it doesn't mean that we repress negative emotions or we don't have bad things happen in life. It's the optimism, the perspective. It's an optimistic perspective, meaning that no matter what comes our way, we can navigate those situations. Things don't have to be extremely difficult. I love the example you just gave about the founder. What if we just believe that things could be effortless? What if we believe that things could be joyful? What if we believe that building a company could actually be fun and light and freeing instead of heavy and serious and intense? You know, it's all in our perspective, isn't it?
Exactly. And isn't it giving you a lot of power? Isn't it giving you a lot of like a confidence and power and the courage to step in the world because you believe that you can do it? And all these days is giving you the sense of believing in yourself. And that's at the end the most important when we speak with people. What type of sense they have from us when we don't believe in ourselves and when we come with this like a super confidence. Even if you don't buy the product, you will remember the person as someone, you will remember the person with that huge energy. So, yes, that's a very powerful
That's
to stand there. And
I love it. I think that's Oh, go ahead, sorry.
yeah. And just to add, what I recommend, and it's a nice exercise also to do, is to actually find yourself a place you feel powerful. So you can do it again through visualization, for example, stand up somewhere in your living room, close your eyes, and imagine that you're standing in the circle. And you imagine yourself in that stage of feeling powerful and to define for yourself all these confidence,
Mm.
powerful, unbeatable, being smart, having all the information, whatever is important for you, you create yourself and you feel it. And you feel it for some time, couple of minutes in that circle. And then anytime within your days when it can get worse, when you need these qualities, you imagine and you step in this circle with closed eyes and you can feel how this is over your mind and your body. And it can be nice exercise for every day.
That's great. I guess depending on how stressful your day may be, huh?
Yeah, yes. But sometimes before maybe a big meeting or some important meeting, you need this confidence. You need to feel it. You can do this type of exercise.
You know, it's interesting. I went through a coaching program, the positive intelligence coaching program, and that was one of the things that they taught similarly, not exactly what you just described, Teresa, which I love that, getting in and visualizing it. I think that's similar. Tony Robbins used to share some concepts like that. The cool thing is by it's finding the things that work for us, and I think anchoring ourselves into those states is when it becomes very powerful, is because and what you described is us anchoring into a power state, whatever that may mean for each of us, that
Mhm.
can allow us to navigate our days in a more fulfilled way, in a more confident way, especially if you're going into a meeting or having you got a tough day ahead. Getting ready and feeling that power from within ourselves is what it's about. And to be truthful, that's why I do this podcast, is because I believe that humans are amazing beings and that we have so much potential and power within all of us. And that if we only recognize that and trusted that more, we would transform the world through our actions, through our deeds, because of the fact that we're connected with that power that lives within us. I truly believe that we all have that power. It's just tapping into it and then using it in our everyday lives.
That's amazing. And I think it's amazing that more and more people are open to this and are believing in these capabilities of us as humans. And it's more and more. So the stronger it is, the better it's going to be in the future for us.
I agree. Well, luckily there are people like you out there doing this kind of work because frankly, people need to learn about it. It's not woo woo. It's not weird. I think meditation has a place in everyday life, and as you said, you've gone to this incredible meditation retreat, but what you found is that the things that they're teaching are parallel to what we're learning about the brain and in neuroscience. It's just the way they've been communicating it, the things that they've been communicating it, but the direction that they've been talking about, the recommendations, the things that they say you need to do align with what we know about our brains and how it operates. So it's meditation isn't some random thing anymore. It's very backed by science now. And so I'm thankful that there are people like you out there teaching other people like this, particularly busy startups and founders and entrepreneurs, because I don't think entrepreneurs realize the power that they hold to influence culture and community and everyone around them. And if they're in a wonky kind of negative state, they can impact people in a negative way, which ripples out. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of influence that they have.
Yes, exactly. I think that coming from Europe, I would say those 10 years ago, if you were meditating, you were a little bit hippie person. But nowadays, it's a bit nowadays it's becoming normal. Uh, it's becoming people have it as everyday routine, and that's great. So I also believe that implementing this type of strategies in your business in the way lead your company within the time and with the education, and also with not just with me but also with you as this great podcast will increase.
That's the goal, Teresa. I really appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I just love connecting with strong, intelligent individuals like yourself who are out there focused on this work and leaning into it. And it's cool because you are doing this based on your own experiences. What you described earlier and your experience with meditation that led you into this work because of the impact that it had on your life and how it helped you. And look at what you're doing now. You've been traveling, you speak multiple languages, you live in Spain, you work with companies all over Europe, and you're helping them learn meditation practices that are basically kind of ancient forms of meditation in many ways, and you're applying that to the world of business. I think that that's fantastic.
And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. Sometimes it's been hard work, but I'm excited about this journey, and I really wish to be able to impact more and more founders, and I would like also to spread the service more within the investors, because what I'm figuring out that many investors can be more conservative than the founders, because founders are often younger generation than the investors. And investors' approach can be also very one direction minded. So what I'm trying now, and I'm like launching new types of services, is towards investor and founder relationship, when I'm trying to navigate both of them through this process of visualization, trust, and mediation, so they can create this together. There are not limitations from the side of investors or also from the side of founders. because they often the founders and young entrepreneurs, they are overexcited, right, about their business, and they don't realize it's a marathon. It's not just a 1 year sprint. So to make them realize that this is a lifestyle, it's not just fast scale up.
That's right. I think that's, I mean, I had to learn that lesson when I was young too, thinking that things were thinking around 1, 2 year time periods. That's not how you really have to be thinking about things in 10, 15, 20 year time periods when you're building things, you're growing enterprises, creating, launching, whatever it may be. It really is the marathon mindset that makes the big difference. And I love that you're focusing on investors too, because I think that's a huge part of this as well. Is there's a lot of these kind of old ideas that are living in our world. Now, I'm about traditions. There are absolutely traditions that are valuable to us as a species and what we create in our societies, but sometimes that fixed mindedness, that old school mindset can really limit our growth and ability as humans to connect with each other and make impacts in the way that we can. So I love that you're focusing on investors as well, because again, it's a big impact and role that they play in our ecosystem, right? So having that power and having that awareness can apply that in meaningful, fulfilling, servant oriented ways in our society. Because really, to me, Teresa, it's about offering more compassion and love in our culture and our society, genuine love and compassion, right? Which is, in my mind, done through service. And that's what we give with our time, our energy, our focus.
Yeah. Mm, just to the investors, as you mentioned, these processes of choosing startups are very numbers oriented, or also on the opposite side, very personal oriented. Sometimes the investor might have just a little bit bad gut feeling about a startup and they decline it. But they know themselves that it is great idea, that kind of everything match, but there is something wrong. And this is the moment when I believe my services come in, because it can be just inability of the startup founder to be transparent, because he fears to be transparent, to show his vulnerabilities and imperfections, because he's too young to know that investors know that everyone has imperfections. For example, so these kind of little things change people's life, right? Uh, within the business environment. That's very interesting. And yeah, I believe, as you said, I believe if we do something with heart, with the best intentions, it will come back. Is the only way how to do things.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Putting it out there, paying it forward, if you will, right? That's the principle. I love that. The giver's gain. There's all sorts of things where we can look to how being of service and how being kind to other people can come back to us in more ways than we can imagine. And I think that's really what it's about. So, Teresa, two things real quick before we wrap up here. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about your work and what you do? And then what would be kind of your final message that you would like to share with the audience before we part ways?
Yes, so if you are interested in my services or get to know more about what I do, don't hesitate to connect with me from my website, consulting.com, or on the LinkedIn page, very easy. And also set up a discovery call with me over there. You can speak more in detail about the services applied on your business. And finally, as you said, message towards the audience is don't hesitate to discover your options out of your reality. Go ahead, play
Mm,
with your word every day. Try to do something different every day, and your life is gonna change for the better. And open your eyes. The adventure is there. The fun is there.
I love that. So don't forget that this is an adventure. Life is an adventure, not something so serious, right? All the time.
Yes, let's take it a little bit easy. There are enough tough moments, so the rest, let's enjoy.
I love it. That's so true. There's enough tough moments and hard things in the world that we got to manage. Let's make it a little lighter. That's fantastic. Well, Teresa, this was awesome. I really appreciated you coming on the show and your time. I think the audience will have there's a lot of nuggets in here to think about, to learn from. I also love that you gave some very practical examples and exercises that they can look to apply in their life if they want to learn some of these things and start to gain from the benefits of meditation, visualization, and what we've learned about our brains and how flexible and strong they are. So, Teresa, I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on. As for the audience, I definitely appreciate your ears, your eyes, all that. As usual, you all know episodes drop weekly. We got the YouTube channel rocking now, which you'll see myself and Teresa on there. So I certainly appreciate all of your time, your energy, your attention, all of that. It's very valuable in the world that we live in. So with that being said, until next time, y'all. Thank you for listening to Order Within. If you found the episode helpful, please consider sharing, rating, and subscribing. New episodes will be released every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, y'all.